Hello, and welcome to this session on scaling businesses with digital marketing. Today, customer journey has largely moved online, be it social media, chat messengers, website, apps. Customers are interacting with brands across these multiple online touchpoints 24/7. With such a rapidly evolving ecosystem, brands are also investing towards expanding their presence on the digital medium. They are upping their game on this medium as they have realized that customers is spending their maximum time here. So let us now hear from brands on how they are scaling their presence on the digital medium to grow their businesses as well as keep engaging their target audiences. I now invite my guest for the day. My first guest for the day is Mr. Amit Garga, Digital Transformation Head, the House of Abhinandan Lodha. Welcome, Amit.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Glad. Thank you, Amit. Thank you for making it. My next guest for the day is Mr. Joseph Kumpa, Head Social Media, Matrubhumi Printing and Publishing Company. Welcome, Joseph.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. Very excited for this.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. My next guest for the day is Ms. Sakshi Chadda, Director Brand Strategy and Corporate Marketing, Glance. Welcome, Sakshi.
Thanks, Suresh. Lovely to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi. My next guest for the day is Mr. Sunoj Pankuni, Senior Brand Manager, KP Nambudri Ayurvedics. Welcome, Sunoj.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
And my final guest for the day is Ms. Anki Bhag, Head of Scaled India GCS Google. Welcome, Anki.
Hi, Devesh. Hi, everyone. And very excited to be part of this.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a full house here, and I'm now going to start with my questions. My first question is actually to all of you. With the advent of digitization, huge chances in business and consumer behavior. There are huge changes in this segment. So what are some of these shifts? Amit, let's start with you first.
I think the first thing I can say is that with the advent of digitization, the trust online has gone up, and somewhere maybe we were forced, if I go back 3 years back, 4 years back, the confidence on digital was low. But with the pandemic hitting in, we were forced to buy a lot of things online, which gave us some comfort that even if you're going online, we're getting good products. So that's the first thing which came and hit in. So maybe before pandemic, we would have spent 10% of our spends outside. Now that spend is going maybe double or triple of what we were spending. Even going and spending on large products also, because we are able to get a lot of information online. So today, I am in a position to look whether the product which I'm purchasing, does it fill in my needs? I can go digitally, find out of that particular product. It can be as simple as, for example, I want to buy a camera. If I want to know about that particular product, it's available. What are the options available is important, which also comes in. Somewhere, the information digitally which is available also tells me what are the pluses and minuses of the product and which product will suit me. Okay. And finally, if I look at the reviews are helping us a big time on these things. I think so. Largely, this is the change which I see. Plus, time spent on social media and digital medium is increasing big time. Absolutely. In fact, the hero is also changing. We have a situation wherein we used to believe maybe in an Amitabh Bachchan about that Parker pen or maybe, and today you have a next door person speaking about a product and I relate with him and say that, yes, it makes sense for me to purchase this product. And finally, I can say businesses are now more open towards a digital way of doing business. They might have been forced a bit during the pandemic, but today the comfort level of doing digital business is increased at least 2 to 3 times is what I can say. If I go back to my start of career some 20, 30 years back to versus now, it's huge change. So I think that's what I would like to say.
I totally agreed with you, Amit. I believe businesses have learned to adapt. If they don't adapt to the digital way of businesses, things may get difficult for them. Joseph, what are the kind of changes and shifts that you have seen?
Actually, the biggest thing is that the online or the digital space is maturing. Okay. So I don't think it's no more about the first mover advantage. That's gone. Now it's safe. Everyone by saying, even bloggers everywhere knows what the audience expect. And knows what to deliver. That is why Amit, like when we want to buy, if we want to buy a camera or something, we know we don't now need to depend on a single person who gives explanation on everything. There are subject experts who deliver what the audience wants. So the biggest change is that the the digital medium has matured, and now there are answers to questions. Earlier, in discussions similar to these, when certain questions were posed, we didn't know where it was going. Right now, everyone, even it's what do you say, lifestyle brand, or even if it's housing or cars, there are clear, because the medium has matured, there are clear answers to all these questions. That is the biggest change I have seen in the past 2 years. As in, everyone knows what they are doing, and now businesses hence are comfortable coming into this. That is the biggest change I have seen. Yeah.
So basically, it's more about if I have to say that that influencers are kind of paving the way for businesses, because they are able to help consumers know more about this the product in detail than what usually a brand ambassador could have done by coming on a hoarding or coming on a 30-second television ad. Pretty interesting, how digital has been able to draw a niche and bring the subject matter, bring the subject expertise to the consumers in a more relatable way.
Yeah, the influencers are able to take more risks. Yes. Earlier, when the big brands, they were very reluctant, because what if it backfires? When it comes to the small players, they were ready to take risks. They made mistakes, and everyone learned from it. That's how the maturity thing happened. Yeah,
correct. So, Noj, what do you think? What are some of the interesting shifts that you have seen?
Of course, digitalization has a lot of influence over customers as well as business. So, if you take particularly on the customers segment, so nowadays customers are like anything, anywhere, anytime kind of expectations. Their expectations increase very much. Like the customers thinking they can buy, not thinking, of course, they can buy anything in the world, and it can deliver anywhere, house or office or in train or traveling, it's possible. And it's like anytime or at the moment notice kind of delivery or their expectation, like they want to 10 minutes to 1 hour or a repeated purchase, kind of subscriptions. So the kind of expectation is going beyond that level. And also the information seeking customer, because of the reach of social medias, the information seeking customers cluster, that segment is very much increasing, because all the details are in their fingertips. Before making any purchase decisions, a lot of offline and online interactions happening. And there is again one more trend I can see, that is the woman as a especially from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, women, that particular group is emerging as a new class, because now they have influence across not influence information across all the platforms. So that women, especially the mid-age, and their influence is trending very much. And also the online shoppers. Earlier there was a trend like only the new generation or millennials kind of people are more into the online, but that concept nowadays is totally changing. Now all age, irrespective of income, gender, age group, all are into the heavy shopping. So that is kind of trend happening in customer segment. So if to cope up with this kind of expectation, business or the entrepreneurs, like they're moving to different level. Like now from the personalization to the hyper personalization mode. Now it's like a kind of ultra customization is happening. And because of the change in offline and online happening, so like digital marketing is booming nowadays, because they want experience across the section. And of course, because of the lot of social media reach, social commerce is always social commerce kind of conversion is sort of happening. So this kind of perception is from my side regarding the consumer behavior because of digitalization.
You raised 2 points. I believe experience, how the experience of purchasing, how the experience of buying, at convenience has changed with the digital. Now anyone can buy from the confines of office or the home and get it delivered whenever, wherever they can want. I'm like, today I can choose a slot also, to get my grocery delivered at 6:30 to 9:30 slot. And secondly, the increase in the number of women across the tier 2 cities, how they
Right.
are now joining the digital revolution, and they are able to, shop more online, and they are free to shop more online. So that's very interesting, that you point. Sakshi, what are the kind of changes that you have seen?
I think everyone has alluded to a lot of changes that cut across categories. So for sure, I mean, those are very relevant points. We have seen, particularly specifically in the business that we are in, the acceptance of new surfaces. Something like lock screen, which was unheard of before, to be able to surface content for users, right? So acceptance there of users to explore new avenues, to basically find more information and experience right at the touch of a single tap, or not even that, right? The content is live on unique surfaces like that. We've also seen shifts specifically post the pandemic a lot towards newer avenues, in terms of people are moving away a lot more from passive consumption of content, while of course there are binge watching behaviors that happen with OTT and so on. But as far as short snackable content is concerned, there is a move towards a lot more of live content, right? People are preferring more real-time, more interactive streams, the ability to be able to talk with creators and influencers and actually in real time basically get responses to your queries, instead of watching a passive content in a one-way feed, where then you are basically practically basing your opinion on a 2-minute video of someone saying buy this, right? Which is pretty much like what a traditional ad would do, which is why we focused in the last year or two to move a lot more towards live. And as we say, our live is actually more hyper live in a way. Hyperlive as a construct is essentially everything elevated. So a lot more of interaction, a lot more of premium content, a lot more of connectedness, while users can interact with creators, users can interact with each other to actually get the real vibe of what's happening and what should be the acceptance. Additionally, we're seeing movement on a lot more of so while there is standard shopping on digital and so on, but we're also seeing acceptance of live shopping behaviors, which is very big in certain countries like China, and also taking over Western countries. But in India, we're seeing gradually a run up to people actually moving to and preferring live shopping over just standalone e-commerce based, catalog based shopping. So there are some of those levers there. Gaming has been taken up in a big way, right? So we see almost a significant part of our audience spending time on gaming as a huge behavior, be it both in casual, hyper casual games, or even esports tournaments and streams are picking up big time. And surprisingly, in India, there seems to be a lot of preference also. There are new brands entering fray as well, but there's enough and more content available on various platforms. So seeing a significant hike there. Like today we have almost 20, like on Glance itself, we have we run live streams on sports, and we see almost a MAU of more than 25 million just on game streams. And just on casual play overall, we have almost 65 million users sitting on playing casual games. So the scale and scope is significant out there in terms of what user consumption and patterns are moving. And we're seeing this shifts across geos within India as well, right? So it's not just metro cities or urban centers, but you're seeing a lot more of tier 2, tier 3 audiences actually gravitating towards a lot more of such experiences and content. And this cuts across, right? Anyone from Gen Z to even homemakers who are interested in basically finding the right relevant contextual content, and then taking decisions basis that. It could be for your day-to-day life, or it could be to actually make a purchase decision to shop as well. Yeah, so just some key highlights in terms of what we are seeing in terms of trends. Yeah.
So I believe online has given a fillip to multiple categories. If I have to
Absolutely.
look vertically, then it can be gaming, education, shopping, streaming. And if I have to look at horizontally across demography, I mean, it has given a fillip to 18 to 34, 18 to 44, 25 to 44, male, female, mothers, even the Gen Zs.
Yeah. So
more and more number of people are
audiences
coming online with the help of this medium, and across geographies, not just metros. I mean, even beyond the metros, digital marketing has helped people, to join the brand wagon. Anki, coming to you, Do you see, this adoption of digital medium, a long shift in the behavior? Because all our panelists, they have shared, the kind of changes which have been there. People, women are more number of women, housewives are joining, digital medium. They're exploring content in the way, they want to explore. Now they're seeking more and more better experiences in terms of ordering, be it food, groceries, education, gaming. So how do you see the adoption to digital as a long-term behavior?
Yeah, no, thanks, Devesh, for asking that question. And it was really interesting to hear everyone. Very similar trends is what we are seeing at our end also. I think I'll start by saying that this entire digitization process has happened over the last 10 years. And if you were to actually look at four large key moments, it started all the way back in 2012 with the 3G rollout, and we had about 100 billion internet users, right, in 2012. Cut to 2 years, we saw that with 4G and smartphones becoming like affordable, there was a further shift towards consumers coming on the internet. And if you look at 2016, in fact, there were two major events, right? There was demonetization and there was the Geo launch, which took the internet users to 550 million. And then in the last 2 years, there's been the pandemic where almost half of India's population is now on the internet at about 700 million. So digitization has been a gradual process, but I think in the last 2-3 years, it's definitely catapulted. What we also see is that because of the fact that today digital has become even more entrenched in the consumer's life, brands and businesses are being more acceptable, and that's what we heard from the rest of the panel. In order to answer your question on whether this is long term or not, I think new users who may have begun their online journeys due to necessity have become more and more, what we are seeing is that more and more comfortable with the digital world and are actually choosing to stay online, right? Even after the worlds have opened up. And when we dug deeper, what we really saw is that different categories and verticals have taken to digitization in a different way, right? Let me explain by giving you a few examples. So we actually divided the verticals at our end into shock and sticky categories, right? To figure out whether this is a long-term trend when it comes to changing consumer behavior. So if you look at omni-channel categories like food and grocery, initially during the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was obviously forced to order online, and we call them the shock categories, where there was a lot of hoarding and people were forced to kind of buy online, right? But after the pandemic is kind of reduced and we have opened up, people have gone back to the offline world, we see a modest amount of growth in these categories. However, there are categories which we call the sticky categories. So for example, skincare, apparel are some of the categories which were gradually moving. There was a shift of consumer behavior towards digital, but I think the pandemic further escalated it or accelerated it. And now even with the world opening up, what we see is that consumers continue to research online irrespective of where they purchase online, right? Whether it's online or offline, they can be purchasing anywhere, but they continue to research online, right? So that's those are the sticky categories. And then we also saw that there were categories like home and decor, right? Like high ticket categories, which were primarily offline. But I think after the pandemic, there is a sudden shift where we see that the process has changed or the consumer behavior has changed, where the research is happening online for the first time. And maybe even in some cases, we are seeing offline purchases happening across a lot of marketplaces on a category like home and decor, right? So I think if I were to summarize in a nutshell, while different businesses have responded to the pandemic differently, or different, the consumer behavior has changed differently for various categories, the process of the shift has changed, from an irreversible point of view, right? Now, what is happening is that the digital is playing a very prominent role in the research part of the consumer journey, irrespective of where the final purchase is happening, whether it's online and offline, which was not the case earlier before the pandemic. There were clearly categories where research was also offline and purchase was also offline. But now I think digital has taken a really prominent place in the consumer journey post the pandemic. And some of these behaviors are long-term and here to stay.
So interesting. And I totally agree with this, because people who have tasted the convenience of digital, it's very difficult for them to
Absolutely.
actually go back. While post pandemic, people are coming out, and as I think Sunoj mentioned that they're loving those digital experiences.
Yeah,
Jumping
and
between.
various factors, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, one is obviously the convenience and the fast process of it, the fact that it's getting delivered to your home. Also, payments, right? Or
Absolutely.
digital payments has further accelerated that. And then on top of that, the assortment on digital is also now different from what you get offline, right? So if you look at the convenience and the assortment at the same time, certain benefits like how quickly you pay, this is an attractive proposition even after the world has opened up.
Correct, correct. Coming to you, Amit, the House of Abhinandan Lodha is a very young brand. Just mentioned that it's 2 to 3 years old brand. So, what is your digital marketing play?
And I think this is something interesting I should add. Anki, we all have been talking of products maybe of 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Just to give you a feel, in the last event, we went and closed products. I mean, we sold plots worth 1 crore plus in the market. And that happened 100% digitally.
Wow.
So maybe news for many of you that when we speak digital, we think maybe groceries, we think of food, we think of products like apparels and everything. I'm trying to shift, and maybe I've also been in this organization for the last 6 months. It was music to ears to see that we are able to sell 1 crore plus on a digital call. And when I'm saying digital, I'm talking of like I'm doing a presentation right now with you. I'm showing my product, I'm showing my pictures about the land which we have in different places, and I'm trying to sell you. When you buy it here, we do the payment online. You are led to a particular page and the payment happens, and the whole process is digitally done. Except for obviously one part which we can't control is the registration of land. In fact, during pandemic, we had even given an offer to customers to help them to get the registration through power of attorneys through process and all that. Anyway, that's not important. But what I'm trying to say is that we have gone totally on that. Digital, yes, this is the way we are and we will be. So just to give you a brief as the House of Abhinandan Lodha, we are not trying to say we are a real estate company. We are saying a real estate with the tech background. What we are trying to say is that we will not go offline. That's the kind of pledge we are talking. We don't want to go offline. We will call customers digitally, get them connected. We'll create experience centers which can show digitally the product in such a way that you can understand the product and take a call there itself. And like Devesh pointed out, right, we are just 2 years plus as a brand. It is not long been there in this particular, the field. And 100% business, digital. And what I mean to say is the process is so simple as that you will fill a lead maybe on a Facebook or a Google. The lead comes to us, we do a call, we fix an appointment through a Zoom meet or through a Google Meet or through Teams, whatever the customer suits. And that is where we present our products through our 3D renders and everything. Obviously, the brand has its own value. We do some prints also in between to create that trust in the brand, no doubts about it, because print does have that value also associated. But 100% digital is what I can say.
This is superb. This is, this is actually music to ears to a lot of people in the industry who are actually thinking, whether they can go digital with their products or not. And, if it can happen in your category, I believe, it can happen across any other category, because yours is one of the most difficult categories. People want to go to, see the place, and if, as you mentioned, by creating those immersive experiences, the right intervention of tech, coupled with the, the digital marketing. So it's actually music to ears.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, my previous organization, we used to sell around 7-8 lakhs of product online. And during pandemic, we did a lot of business in that organization. This one was a step even beyond.
Wow.
It really is difficult to build up that trust on a digital call for you to come and invest on that. Obviously, when you're booking, you don't pay the full amount, but still you're paying lakhs of rupees on at the time of booking. Becomes a very different style of selling, I would say.
Correct. No, that's true. So, Noj, so how does it work in your category? Digital marketing.
Yeah, see, we are into
Yes.
personal care segment. So digital, of course, we recently strengthened our e-commerce and outsource platform. It's really working for us in the sense. Earlier, the brand is more into the very region specific or a Kerala specific brand, but now the people can access across, and as the marketplace as well as e-commerce is segments activated, of course everyone know that product is reaching everywhere, and of course it's not only that, already uplifting the brand's face as well. So being digital and reaching a lot of people, so that again helping the brand to become a new gen brand or that kind of feel also. It's really helpful for the brand building as well.
Interesting. Anki, I'm coming back to you. Okay. So how is the digital medium helping brands? Because you work with a lot of brands, across categories. So how does the medium helps brands to forge better connections, stronger connections with their customers?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to what Joseph and Sanoj mentioned about where is the customer today, right? If
Okay.
you look at digital, digital is becoming more and more entrenched in the customer's life. And I'll talk about the two trends, which they referred to earlier. All the new internet users which are coming online today are largely coming from diversified groups, right? And today, if brands want to acquire newer customers or newer consumers from, say, rural, from tier two geographies, or say different segments like women, today, just to quote a few stats, 2 out of the 3 new internet users are actually female. 3 in 4 new internet users are rural, right? So digital is definitely increased in penetration so much that it is becoming an enabler in consumers' lives. And going back to some of the points we discussed, that it is allowing consumers access to information, right? Starting with access, for example, when it comes to news, again, to quote a few stats over here, we have seen that YouTube news watch time has actually grown by almost 4x in India, right, in the last
Okay.
year. It is now digital is the point for consumers across India, irrespective of which tier, irrespective of urban and rural. Digital has become the first entry or first access point for news, right? And it's not just limits itself to news. If you go to information today, consumers, for example, or people come to digital and feel more empowered, right? So for example, when it comes to looking for employment opportunities, earlier it was getting support from each other or from word of mouth, but today they are empowered themselves. For example, there's been a 56% rise in mobile searches for NREGA in Hindi and English, right, which is the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which shows that digital is again a great equalizer in consumers' lives today, where everybody is getting more equal opportunities thanks to its presence. If we talk about social, it's again a great place for a lot of local entrepreneurs, local businesses, and local voices and influencers who can today showcase their products and brands online, right? And social plays a really big role again in bringing the entire collective voice of a community together. And finally, I think I would say it's becoming even more entrenched because it's also reducing the barriers when it comes to language, right? And we are seeing that in terms of like literally 58% increase in queries on stories in Tamil, news in Hindi, and some other vernac queries, right? So as more and more digital becomes entrenched, it will be a great enabler. And brands and products, it's a must do for them to be present over here if they want to acquire new consumers, drive growth, and make newer connections, right? And I think now, if I shift gears to what's in it for businesses, when it comes to even consumer journeys, something that we spoke about earlier, is that the second trend that we are seeing largely is something called detail therapy before retail therapy. Let me explain what that means. What it basically means is that even before we visit an offline store, we have actually gone and seen the products available in that store through our smartphone, right?
True.
Even before we decide which school our child will go to or which sports item to buy and therefore which store to enter, we have already gone into digital and actually looked for details and researched, right? And this is kind of visible in terms of the staggering numbers of near me searches, right? So just to say that again, when it comes to even consumer journeys and the commercial angle of it, which is relevant for brands and products and services, digital is deeply entrenched there. And therefore, it is a great enabler, and making those connections, whether it's in day-to-day life in helping consumers, or whether it's buying products and services and brands and discovering products, services, and brands.
Really loved how you mentioned that detail therapy to retail therapy actually kind of summarizes, how the entire consumer behavior of, researching before, buying any product. And I think it's true for not just offline, but online also. Today, our behavior is such that if we are, willing to buy anything, or, even getting our kids, to the school, you search in the forums and everywhere, right? So Joseph, coming to you, while we're talking about digital marketing, Sunoj talked about, how it helps in his category, while Amit talked about, selling 1 crore products, 1 crore, big lands, online. So how is, digital helping, publishers like you?
We always discuss about how customers are adapting to digital. On our side, it's more we are adapting to customers. We are every day, again, data is there. That is the biggest thing, but that's the biggest new thing that we have at our hands right now. Earlier, traditional, we have a content, we get the response, I mean, how it performed way later. Right now, in minutes, you get how the content performed. So basically, it's a journey where we are adapting day to day or minute by minute. So that is the biggest change that we have brought. So again, when creating a video, creating a news content, we right now think which is our audience that is going to watch this content. What is it? Why are they here? Why are they watching this content? And are we delivering that? Earlier, there used to be like rules set in stone, wherein this has to go first, this has to go first, there has to be a vibe that has to come. Right now, all we think about is how good an experience are we creating for our audience, as in are we creating a meaningful relationship. That is because next time, like you said, I think it is Anki who told, news consumption is heavily on digital first. So we want to be top of the mind of all our consumers, as in when they want to know something or when they want to know an update, they have to come back to us. For that, we have to create a very strong sense of relationship. Loyalty has to be there, and there is no better platform to create a good relationship than digital, because it's two-way communication. So that is the biggest change, or that is the biggest change that has come into our publishing industry as a whole, whether it's entertainment, whether it's news or publishing, radio, everything. Yeah.
Correct. On the other hand, Sakshi, you enable brands, to forge connection with their users, by curating the right content for them. So how does it work in your category? I mean, what is the content that I, as a customer, want to watch? If it Glance is enabled on my phone, what is the kind of content that I want to watch? So how do you enable that data, and how do you enable that brands, that they can reach me?
No, absolutely, Devesh. So, I mean, the whole factor of digital is that, as Joseph was mentioning, right, there is so much data leverage that you can use, right? And those signals are instant in terms of being able to take actions on it, right? Previously, there was a lot more of broadcast, and even today in traditional, it tends to be a lot more of broadcast that we do today, right? So digital at least opens up that avenue for you to be able to take those signals and take action on it on a very prompt basis. And all of those levers are set in with us in our systems as well, right? So it's not just brands, but we also have our own brands as well, which surface content, and we work with a lot of publishers as well, right? So there is a great mix that we have on the platform. It is not just branded content that we put out there. The intent is that we take these signals both from users in terms of their behavior behavior of watching or previewing a certain set of content, and the content and experiences are customized basis that. We also take in signals and also create overall overarching signals, not just individualistic signals, but which are just deterministic in nature, but probably create models in terms of probabilistic content as well, right? If a certain cohort of users is liking a certain content, while we may not have a specific direct signal from them, we can then make those assumptions to basis, using our AI and ML tech to essentially then create content and experiences and serve those across for them. So there is so much leaps that technology has taken that if you have direct, obviously deterministic signals coming in into the ecosystem, then for sure there's immediate action that you can take, but there is also probabilistic modeling that you do to invert those cohorts, like create cohort behaviors and then surface content. But at all times, the intent is that we be as true as possible to the consumer and their need states, and ensure that we're basically putting qualified quality content out there for them to sort of consume.
Interesting. Amit, Joseph, and Sonoj, my next question is actually for you. So I want to understand, when you were starting your digital journeys, what were the kind of challenges that you faced, that your brand as a company faced in adapting to the digital medium? Joseph, you can start with you first, since you started the journey 6 years ago, and from 1% to, you've reached the 38, 40 member team. So let's start it from you.
The biggest challenge again has been adapting to the whole new game, because like I said, there are influencers out there. There are people who has not, who has low risks. Okay, compared to when a established brand, 100-year brand, comes into the same game, there are a lot of risks associated with it. So the biggest, biggest challenge we had, or biggest challenge was we were afraid to fail again. Okay, we are established, we are a 100-year company. We had our reluctance when it comes to failing. Okay, so in the past 6 years, that is the biggest lessons that we have learned. As in, we fail every day. Okay, we have established IPs on when it comes to content and publishing. We have established IPs. We create new IPs or new ideas which fail every day. But then that is also the best thing that has come out, because we learn every day. Okay, so we have a most junior editorial people to most senior editorial people all learning from each other. Okay, so to say it in a word, the biggest challenge was we were too scared to fail, because we are an established company, and the best thing that has come out of it is we are now like we like failing in a way, because we learn and we soar to new levels. As in, when it comes to digital income, let's say monetization of content, the content monetization has grown maybe 4 or 5 times in the past 1 year. So that is the kind of growth because we try new things and we learn new things. That is the kind of growth that we are seeing. So now we are more empowered to try new things, and we are happy that is the biggest change, because the biggest challenge was that. Yeah.
Okay. So basically affecting a behavioral change, to adapt to the new medium, and there's a possibility of failure, and the importance of learning from the failure, understanding that there's an importance in learning from the failure also. That was one of the biggest changes that, you kind of affected.
Yeah. And why that is so important is because everything is so dynamic.
Yeah.
So today it might be, in 6 months, the nature of delivering content via video has changed so much in the past 6 months itself, maybe way more than what has happened in the past maybe 6 years. So if we are not ready to fail and learn, we will be stuck behind. So yeah,
absolutely. So Noj, what has been your journey in adapting to digital marketing?
Yeah, basically any manufacturing industry basically into the runs in a traditional distribution setup, so manufacturing to the end. So as when moving to the digital part, this is entire disruption happens, because for digital entire things we need to set up, for example, for e-commerce or marketplace, for content in a traditional way we will have 1 or 2 TVC or kind of thing that will run across all the campaigns. But for the digital, we need to have a different set of content according to the TG, according to the product. So these kind of things really influence a lot in terms of budget, in terms of management concept, all those things. Because as I mentioned earlier, when there is a traditional set of mindset, traditional business happening, so immediate or this kind of changeover, as Mr. Joseph said, is there a lot of reluctant to this kind of changeover, especially during the COVID time, because within two years of time, you need to take a lot of actions because there is no other option. So these kind of reluctance during these steps is there. And apart from that, whether our product or service ready for the existing marketplaces, that is another thing. And also the customer to purchase, but the same thing is available in the nearest retailers. So how the differentiation, what is the difference, we are making in the online platform, that is another thing. We will get a lot of questions from existing distribution network. As you know, in the online sales model is more about discounting, and by discounting we get a lot of customer acquisition because it's a long-term view. But in the traditional view, there's entire process different. So the management or the manufacturer need to pick up all those things in a short span. So that is the one main challenge I faced recently.
Interesting. Amit, what's your story?
I think there's a lot of similarity in it. So, but to answer you, I think the first challenge was people.
Okay.
And when I say people, you get automatically the answers of adaptation to it, not willing to change. To give you a simple example, to make it very simplistic in making and explain that, the first time I tried to push my mother, or my wife tried to push her mother to use a smartphone, there was a huge resistance. And believe me, today they have used and they're so happy about that smartphone because it has helped using or passing their time much better. They're on Facebook, they're on various models, or I would say mediums which are available to give them in terms of stories and everything. Similarly, it happens with people in an organization. We are used to doing business in a particular way.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow, if you want them to adapt to a particular technical tool which they have never used, they get confused. And once they get confused, they find excuses for not using it. So I think this is a larger one which was there. The second one is, if you really see, most of the tools developed in any of the organization is top-down.
Mm-hmm.
Which means Amit Garga would be sitting at the top, designing something which is to be used at the front end. Now, let's be realistic. Someone who's at the front end is into the learning journey. He's never seen those kind of tools. And maybe you have that situation wherein you're trying to get even people who are not educated enough to use a particular tool. Right? Now, when they have to be moved to a particular platform, it becomes very difficult. So training, people, adaptation, I think these are the larger ones which were there. And obviously the mind thought of, like, if Amit Garga wants, he wants the whole one view of what is happening across the organization, which cannot be the way when you can launch a product at the start. So at the start, it should be basically very simple, is the way I look at it. I think these are the larger ones which I can really frame up.
Right. So Ankit, tell me something. I mean, what are the advantages, that businesses get, while adapting to the digital medium? And have you seen any interesting businesses, that, have pivoted online? And the second part to this question is, what are the when businesses are adapting to the digital, what are the kind of metrics they should have in mind so that, they're able to understand that, okay, their investment in the medium is going in the right direction? Because, from what I can understand from the answers of, these three gentlemen is that, that there is a lot of reluctance in adapting to the digital. Okay. People are worried about, whether they would fail, whether it would deliver the right ROI for them or not. So, how to overcome this?
Yeah, I'll start with your first question on benefits of digital, Devesh. And I think on the call itself, Sakshi clearly brought out so many use cases of digital, right? The amount of data and signals that you get on your consumer, and you are able to tailor make content based on those signals, and also use, machine learning and intelligence to further develop content. is quite amazing, right? And different types of content, different pieces. So I think automation is one big area which digital enables. But I'll go back to the consumer journeys and talk to you a little about how digital today can benefit businesses adapting to it faster. When we meet advertisers, I think most of them want to drive sales for their products and brands, but still a lot of them believe that consumer journeys are linear, right? You drive awareness of your brand, get into the consideration set, and the purchase will follow. But now with the plethora of channels and consumers finding more and more ways to discover brands online, I would say that this journey, and when we actually did a research in Google, we realized that this journey is no longer linear, right? So it actually has two phases. The first phase is where the consumer is looking for discovering new products and brands and what they need. And the second phase is where they are actually narrowing down on options and getting into the evaluation phase, right? Which is the consideration phase. Now, what is happening now is that given the plethora of options, still the consumer is not completely decided that this is the product and brand. They're going back to the exploration phase. So there's a lot of back and forth that's happening between exploration and evaluation, widening choices and narrowing down choices. And we actually call this the messy middle. So consumer journeys are no longer linear, but they are quite messy. And given that it is so confusing for the consumer itself, it can be even more confusing for the advertiser and marketer, right? As channels grow, I mean, the big question to a marketer or a big headache to a marketer or an advertiser would be, where should I put my marketing dollars across these channels? And are my marketing dollars enough across these channels for me to scale campaigns and get the best ROI for my money, right? And that is where I think digital has a massive advantage. What digital allows you to do is to actually use the advancement of, the power and the advancement of machine learning and help you automate this entire process. In Google and across, I think, all tech products and digital companies, we are single-mindedly focused on making the entire media deployment and marketing campaign execution efficient and easy for marketers, right? How digital can benefit is the fact that today marketers just need to literally put their business goal or their marketing objective in the system, deploy a great creative asset, and then let machine learning and automation take over and deliver on those goals, right? So that is I think one of the biggest advantages, I would say, coming from digital. And one of the things, obviously, and I'll talk later about success metrics, is the fact that today marketers and advertisers therefore need not focus on campaign execution, media deployments, and the nitty-gritties of it. They just need to focus on the strategic goals and make sure that they are feeding the system with the right goals and the quality goals, and let the system kind of intelligently deliver on those goals, right?
Okay.
So I think that's around success metrics. One of the case studies of a brand who has pivoted, and we spoke about a lot of traditional brands over here, brands who are offline heavy with very high distributorship. I would like to quote Madhur Sugar. And this is a recent case study. Madhur Sugar is, again, a traditional brand who has been, has actually expanded through offline retail network. It's a highly commoditized category, right, of sugar, where there is a lot of unorganized play. And they wanted to build a brand, drive consideration for its brand. And in fact, they used YouTube in order to actually go after certain in-market audiences and affinity audiences who today are interested in cooking, and played the ad on and used video as a mechanism to drive brand presence as well as brand lift. Some of the results have been quite amazing. 49% lift in ad recall, 25% lift in brand awareness, and overall they measured also sales and got a 20% sales lift. So today, online video can work for a brand like Madhur, which is in a very highly commoditized, unorganized market, as well as a very traditional category like sugar, right? So therefore, I think digital has come a long way, I would say, and brands who are pivoting today to digital definitely seeing the benefits of it. I think quickly coming to success metrics, I'll keep it short. Most marketers know digital measurement as CPMs and CPCs, right? And that is something that the industry knows digital as. That needs to potentially change if if performance needs to improve for marketers. One of the main rules even in the digital world is to make sure that one is actually putting in goals which are as close as possible to real business goals.
Sure.
What I mean by that is, for example, if you are just decide the marketing objective that the brand wants to actually go after. For example, if it is brand awareness, put in goals like reach goals and frequency goals. If the marketing objective is performance, put in goals, conversion goals like online sales and offline sales. And if it is profitability, putting goals like return on ad spend and cost per acquisition. These are all as close as possible to the real business goals that today a advertiser is measuring at their end. And then the second thing is definitely allowing digital to ramp, because a lot of this works on machine learning, and machine learning takes a certain amount of time to understand. Once that ramp has happened and sufficient amount of time has taken for that marketing campaign to run, you can truly see the impact over a period of time on your actual goals like sales and profits, right? And finally, I think one of the ways in which digital can be super helpful in measurement is the fact is that it can provide a one unified view cross channel, cross devices, right? That whole problem of saying how do I measure my marketing dollars, which is fragmented across so many channels, goes away if one uses, and there are some very good tools like Google Analytics or cross media reports which can actually tell you and give you a unified view of across platforms, how are they delivering on your overall goal, and are they making sense or not. So yeah, so I think a slightly long answer, but that's those would be my 2 cents on it.
No, that's I believe pretty helpful actually for everyone. So before I close the day, close this session, I want to take a go to each one of you and to understand how do you see the future of digital marketing in your business. Amit, let's start with you first.
Well, for me, it is like will become life. How do I say that? Well, everything would be dependent on digital over a period of time. That's the way I look at what is happening today. Sorry to say, but print, when we are getting into the hard print, totally is getting, well, it's dying over a period of time. So whatever communication you see would largely happen on digital. As an organization, also, like Anki mentioned, we only measure cost of acquisition, right? But that visibility only comes in when you are into digital. When I look at print, I might get through his QR code and everything saying that how much business did I generate. But the real objective of maybe a coding, how much does it result to me as an outcome, is very difficult to measure on a very real front. Plus, as an organization, we are largely on performance marketing. We have still not touched the, I would say, the benefits of the search engine optimization part of the website, and we have not touched the social media in terms of creating content which will attract customers to us. So that's where I think from a strategic perspective, while we are on performance marketing, we do very well on that. We have to now increase on the other side of this part to increase our expenses into creating content. And maybe like I hear everyone talking, the content has to be also being meaningful. If the content is not meaningful, I'm sure we will not reach to any place. So we need to now work on the content, a meaningful content, so that it touches to people whom we would like to sell our product, and give them information. Like everyone mentioned, if the information is there, then the decision comes in. So if you provide the right information at the right step with every information available, I think the chances of us converting to our customer buying our product increases. I think that's where I'll sum it up.
Correct. Joseph, what's your thought?
Okay, the future is very, very bright indeed. I'll give you an example. I mean, we also have 7 radio stations. So when we started with digital marketing, our idea was lot of people, everybody is on digital. We need to stay on top of their mind for when they switch to radio. So we started creating content around similar topics which radio handled, and slowly, day by day, in the past year, right now, the digital section of radio is an entity on its own. It's self-sustainable. It's sustaining itself. And it looks like in maybe 5 years, it will be a bigger brand than the radio itself. So that is the kind of scope digital gives us, as in the audience. I mean, what radio used to cater to, the audience that we cater to now on the digital platform of radio is way huge. Similarly, when it comes to television, news television, similar kind of growth, as in like Ankit told, the similar kind of the growth has been phenomenal. We have been, everybody is coming, I mean, consuming news first on digital. So the storytelling has changed, the way it is presented has changed, and meaningful storytelling has increased, because reporting on something, putting the logo on the corner is not giving enough value right now. Now, after the watch time has to be there. That means we have to provide value to the customer or consumer. Then the recall happens. So we have now realized that. So the future is very bright. There are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of people we can reach to. This in turn brings advertisers to us, because that too, I mean, earlier I think Sunoj told you can't just use the one ad. Right now, if it's rural, we know how to talk to them. If it's urban, there's a different way of talking. The language is different, the accent is different. So the opportunities are huge. The results are very positive. So the future is very, very bright. Yeah.
Super. Sunoj, your closing thoughts?
Yeah, of course, we are strengthening our digital part in both brand management as well as performance management area. As Amit quoted, we are slightly more focusing on performance market, because we should take care of the profitability part as well. So there will be more activity in performance marketing oriented. Of course, the measuring also in that way. And my brand is more into, because we are into the personal care and more offline heavy spend, but slowly we are also focusing into digital spends and increasing the digital plans spends every year. And because of course, as in the forum, as we have discussed, you'll give a lot of experience, not just selling, you'll give a lot of brand and experience to the valuable customers, and it will really help for the loyalty building. So slowly, this brand see a lot of by right future for the digital, for the growth as well as building a lot of loyalty.
Interesting. And finally, Sakshi, your closing thoughts on how do you see the future of digital marketing?
I think really great thoughts from everyone around. I echo the same, obviously. For our brand as well, right? At the org level, we're looking to we started as a digital first brand, and that's what we offer to users as well, both consumers to consume content and experiences online. The intent is to look at more surfaces that we can expand to and enable more interesting and entertaining digital experiences for users. How can we basically create more opportunities for users to experience digital in newer fashions, specifically across categories which have not been explored before, say from shopping, gaming, some of these very high intent categories. How can we make them more real for people, more interactive for people, and how can we take the experience to the next level? There's a lot more scope available within digital as well, apart from the day-to-day actions of it. And of course, lastly, how do we increase adoption across board is going to be another track that we're going to look at, right? We're sitting at X number of devices. The intent is to go wider, have more and more audiences being able to get these experiences in a much more easier manner, in a single tap, without having to go into custom overload into multiple apps and so on. So creating more interesting interfaces and more reach, right? So largely, yeah, like everyone said, the future is bright. So looking forward to hop onto that train and make it relevant for everyone across audiences, brands, users, and make it yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was a really lovely session interacting with you all, and you really shared some really interesting insights about how you guys are going ahead with the digital marketing plans, how adoption of digital has changed in last few years, what are the kind of challenges people are facing, how categories are going horizontally as well as vertically. So thank you, everyone, for sharing these insights. It was very, very enriching. Thank you very much.